Now that we've put ourselves through the fire, burned away all that shit that we don't need anymore, it's time to take the ashes of the ego and place them in the waters for our next step of this process, dissolution. What's going on, y'all? My name is Sean Taylor, a journeyer on this trip called life, passing through, sharing some tips, tricks, and tools we can all use to help gain clarity and direction in our life. And in this video, we're talking about the process of dissolution. Now, in the physical world, dissolution is simply taking the calcified ash and placing it in the waters. I'm more interested in the whole spiritual side of this, where we take the ashes of the ego and we place them in the waters of our emotion. We use these waters to separate out more of that dross and help begin that healing process. Now, with calcination being more of a mental action, the process of dissolution is more of a feeling action. We lean into that feminine side. And it's important to heal both these aspects, both the mental and the emotional, because if we don't, we have a tendency to revert back to our old ways and revert back to our old coping mechanisms. In our previous video of calcination, we talked about how using our focus, we lay out these things that may not be serving us, and we may observe and examine things that we may be doing, such as indulging in drink or drugs too much. This is something I can relate to because going through my own alchemical process, I was an avid drinker, and going through this process and examining why I was drinking and getting to the root issue or the root cause of it all is I was looking for acceptance. I wanted to, look cool. I wanted to be a part of the group. And growing up in Wisconsin, well, we tend to drink. And so I would accentuate and go hard in the paint in drinking. And many of the goals was to see who could get the most fucked up and still stand. And whoever could get the most fucked up typically was a badge of honor. But going through my process, I revealed and realized that I was using my drinking as a crutch. I was using it to hide from things. I was using it as almost a self-medication to numb pains. And as I burned away this drinking, I was confronted with the things I had to face. One of the reasons I stopped is because I was tired of making excuses. I was tired of making the call or sending the text the next day saying, hey, sorry, I was drunk, I was fucked up, I made a mistake. And I didn't want to do that anymore. I didn't want to make excuses. I wanted to live more truly. And so by burning it away, examining the feelings of why I was drinking, I was able to understand it and resolve it. Through this process, I was able to understand the why I was drinking. I was drinking to be accepted, to be one of the group. I didn't want to be embarrassed. So alcohol was a great substance because not only did it let me let loose, it also covered up and muted pains, but it also pushed those down even more. But through this calcination process, I was able to burn away those blocks and really take a look at it. And feeling into these things of why I was drinking, it brought that dross up and it opened up those almost like sensors, or opened us up to those feelings, because previously, before that calcination process, it was calcified and rock solid. But burning it away and dissolving it, it releases it and opens it back up, and it opens you up to those kind of things. Now, feeling these emotions can be scary because, well, sometimes we drink to cover up sadness, and we drink so we don't feel that. And honestly, that was one of the reasons I did drink, is because I was trying to cover up that sadness. I was trying to hide from those emotions. But going through this process, I was able to open myself up and to feel those things again. And if we remember back to our polarity video, what's equal on one side, there's also something equal and opposite on the other. So to the extent of sadness I could feel, I could also feel the happiness on the other end of that spectrum. Going through this process, yeah, sure, I may feel those lows, but it also opened me up so I could feel those highs as well. I didn't have that roof. I didn't have that calcified wall, that blockage holding me back. I was able to feel more freely and more of myself. And because I was feeling more of myself, I wasn't living on autopilot. I wasn't letting the ego maintain that driver's seat. I was able to take back control and actually direct my life. I wasn't trying to push down these feelings anymore. I was able to feel them fully. I was also able to examine these other emotions that I may have been having that the alcohol was covering up, and I wasn't able to feel, examine, or see. So going through this process, it also helped clear up other problems in my life because I was consciously aware and in that driver's seat. And going through this process, we might actually have a physical manifestation of crying because our body is able to actually break up that calcified state within and release it. And it releases it through the process of dissolution through our tears. And since going through this process of releasing it, I no longer had to hang on to those things. I no longer had to try to spend my time, energy, and focusing on suppressing those things so I wouldn't feel them. I was able to feel them and let them pass. I was able to let them dissolve in the waters, which is the whole process of this step. This whole process of dissolution is more of a passive process. Like we're talking about, you want to feel into these things. Imagine like you're floating on the waters. You want to feel yourself dissolve into them and release all those things. And you become one with your emotions, your subconscious, those waters. And that dross rises to the surface. We're able to examine it and sift it out. So we no longer have that in ourselves. This dissolution process is a process of healing, and it'll bring these things up for you to heal. And a key takeaway from here is if you don't know about it, you can't heal it. And this process brings those things to the surface so they can be dealt with, so they can be released. So what can we take away from this process? This process utilizes the water element. We're able to feel into these things and release them. We have things that are being brought to the surface because they're separated from us. And that's another great point, is we separated this dross so we can examine it outside of us. It's no longer connected to us. And so we have more of a third-party view because it's removed. You can think of us like the Kool-Aid that's dissolving in the water, and that dross comes up to the front. You can examine it because it's no longer you and allow it to pass. You can remove those things from us. And as we allow these waters of dissolution to heal us, we are also using these waters to give birth to something new. A new way of living, new habits, a new way of looking at things. Now that we have a greater understanding of what we've been through, why we went through it, and why we did the things we did. So we can use this process to really examine these things and feel into them and have a better understanding. We learned that we want to heal both our thoughts and emotions. Otherwise, we have a chance of reverting back to our old ways when we're trying to give birth to that new way of living. Join us as we continue this process in our next step of separation in our next video. Comment down below a little aha moment you had, or give this video a like if you got some value from it. I'm gonna go out, finish up my walk, enjoy some fresh air. Peace, much love y'all, take care.